Good morning everyone, Darren Hart's my name, here with David Martin this morning from Core Resourcing. Talking today about the Go for Gold, goal getting personal development program. So David's an expert in helping people achieve their passions and desires in life, and what we're going to share with you over the course of the next 9 to 10 videos, this being the first one, is just his program around how to get what you want in life. So David, good morning, and please share with us, why is it that people can't get what they want?
Well, that's a curious question, Darren, and people often say, you know, I can't get what I want. Maybe even I don't know what I want. I just can't seem to get ahead. And it seems to be quite common right across the board. Some people have even said to me, you know, my life doesn't appear to be going anywhere, you know, or they've kind of lost their way, they've lost their momentum. And to me, these thoughts and feelings represent what I would call stuck points. And that stuck point wasn't necessarily a physical thing or a tangible barrier. Often it was something else. It was more like an imaginary line, a line at which they couldn't seem to get across. And to the degree to which they acted as if those beliefs were true, then it had a tendency to become true for them.
Right, so I think everyone's felt like that at some point in their lives, haven't they? Yeah,
I think very much. And the problem with that is then those beliefs become what I also call a status quo. It becomes a normal part of their life. Because they're acting out of it, it just becomes how they do themselves. It becomes how they do their day and how they do their week. And that becomes normal, which may not necessarily be taking them where they want to go.
Right, but are all status quos unuseful?
No, certainly not. I mean, we need status quos in order to have order in our lives. We need status quos and norms to have a sense of order out of all the pressures and things that we're responsible for and to during our day. But at the same time, if we have a status quo based on a bunch of beliefs that isn't serving us well, that isn't taking us to where we want to go, that only feeds our frustration.
Right, so the net result of that is that you get grumpy, you get frustrated with yourself, and ultimately you become unhappy, yeah?
Yeah, very much. And, you know, I've had people say to me, you know, how did my life turn out like this? This isn't what I intended, you know, I wanted more from life than this.
Sure.
And I'm afraid the answer really isn't probably a nice one. You know, it's the reality is that people have a tendency to sabotage their own outcomes, sabotage their own goals because of perhaps the unuseful status quos that they may have.
So why do we do that? I mean, why do people do that?
Well, you know, I guess there's lots of reasons for that. And the most common reasons appears to be from the research that I've done. Is the first one would be that there's not enough value or enough benefits attached to doing the thing that they actually want to achieve.
Enough perceived value, perhaps.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah,
you're quite right.
Yeah.
The second one would be there's not enough perceived consequences or ramifications even of not doing it.
Right.
So there's no push and pull.
Right.
You know, they're kind of just stuck in the middle.
There's no bad cop on the other side of it.
Very true.
Right.
Or in some cases they may even perceive more value in not doing it.
Right.
Rather than going forward. Sometimes people will, you know, engage in something, and this is kind of like the fourth one, you know, but they actually want someone to notice that they're not doing it.
Right.
Okay, so it's a form of attention seeking.
Sure.
You know, something that they may not even be consciously aware that they're doing, but unconsciously they're engaging in activity that ultimately will be harmful.
Yeah.
But it's their way of trying to get that attention, the attention they're seeking.
Sure.
The fifth one, and this is a really common one, is people will engage in activities, you know, and dieting is a great example.
Perfect example, yeah.
We'll come more to that later on.
Yeah.
But people only notice what isn't changing. They only notice what they haven't got yet.
Right.
Instead of noticing all of the things that they have started to you know, get that's good, you know, they wanted by comparison. So
the little achievements.
Yeah. So they're only noticing the bits they haven't got yet, which doesn't really serve their the goal that they're really chasing.
Sure.
Yeah. And the sixth one is the person actually loses sight of the goal.
Yeah.
they actually forget what it was they were chasing, and after a period of time they kind of lose that momentum and they go back to the way things were.
So you get caught up in the humdrum of daily life for whatever reason.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much,
Yeah.
that's a good way of putting it. The seventh one, which is also quite common, particularly as people move towards doing the things that they weren't commonly doing before, is a sense of anxiety begins to build. Maybe even a sense of guilt that, who am I to want this?
Yeah.
And they kind of come up to that line of, going over the finishing line and then kind of back off.
Right.
And go back to what was comfortable.
Yeah.
Go back to that comfort zone, the things that they were used to doing by comparison.
Sure.
And, when you put those mix of things together, those are often the things that get in the way of what a person's trying to achieve.
Okay, so David, give us some examples, if you wouldn't mind, of how that activity tends to sort of play out.
Sure. Well, one example could be a salesperson. Let's say a salesperson just typically doesn't turn up for an appointment, or doesn't return a phone call.
Right.
That guarantees they're not going to work with that client, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of sabotage that opportunity. Another one, a common one, is weight loss. A person might truly want to lose weight.
Yeah.
But then, they look at that food or they smell that food and they think, well, just this once won't hurt,
Yeah.
So, and then
moment of weakness.
And in that moment of weakness, it's a step towards sabotaging their overall outcome.
Right.
And often sabotage is like that. It's not big steps necessarily. It's just lots of accumulative little steps.
Ones. Right. Yeah.
And to be frank, success is the exact opposite of that. It's often not large steps to success. It's just accumulative steps.
Lots of little steps towards the goal.
Yeah, very much.
But rather than away from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we go back to the examples, a common one. I've worked with a lot of athletes, and another common one I find is that a person might want to get fit. They might want to be at the elite end of their sport, but then instead of going to training, just sleeping in just an extra 15 minutes might have more appeal in that moment.
Yeah.
And those things erode their outcome.
Sure.
And another example might be that a person can actually hang on too tight to the goal. They're actually squeezing, or hanging on for dear life, so to speak, to the thing that they want.
Right.
And when a person does that, when they actually try too hard, then it actually creates a wall of resistance in front of them. So as they bulldozer forward, with the blade down in the ground, it's actually digging up a wall in front of them. So it's much harder to get what you want when you're doing that, when you're trying too hard.
So you're creating your own wall to climb over.
Very much.
Right.
Very much.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are just simple examples, but they're everyday examples that show just what people do, that sabotage the things that they're really trying to get. And at the end of the day, deep in most of us, we have some kind of higher purpose, some real reason for being here.
Right.
And those accumulative ways of sabotaging ourselves actually get in the way of that highest outcome, get in the way of that overall sense of purpose in who we are.
Sure. Okay. So what the goal, the program around Go for Gold is just about helping people to realise that higher purpose and finding out how best to program themselves in terms of finding different methods, and you give people tools to break down those barriers that we build in front of ourselves that keep us from that higher purpose, is what you're saying.
Yeah, very much. It's about helping people to live the life they dreamed that they were going to have when we were kids.
Right.
It's about getting that clarity that perhaps is just below the horizon, or is just dipped behind that cloud, and just bring it forward, just so that they have a real sense of, no, life doesn't have to be like this. I can actually have what I really want, and have it happily, guilt-free and
establishing clarity.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Thanks, David, for your time. Guys, if you want to actually see more, please just pop your name and email address in the form here beside us on the webpage, and what will happen is we will send you a series of 9 other videos that will describe in some detail what this process is and how best you can go about achieving the stuff that you want to achieve in your life. Okay, so David, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you on the other side.